All right. So yeah, welcome again, Kim,
Thank
to the
you.
Zoom room. Nice to see you again. So
Nice to see you too,
we were
John.
just sharing, doing some sharing and stuff. So talking about you were going to looking at doing the Cape Cycle Challenge.
Yeah.
I was talking about how you can use exercise as a spiritual practice, and my own experience of doing yoga was hot yoga was very much that I learned to surrender. Before I started doing that, my modality was always push, so I just pushed
Yeah.
through, and then something happened in doing this these really hard 1.5 hour hot yoga sessions, often after I'd already trained for a few hours. There was just a letting go. I had to let go of pushing and the resistance, and there was just a sense of, yeah, I'm just doing it, and there's an awareness of the pain, the discomfort, but I didn't make it into a problem. It wasn't like, oh, this is terrible, I'm telling myself a story about it. It was just kind of there, but I just do it anyway. And that's a spiritual practice. So any kind of tough exercise training can be that. Then I was about to tell the story of Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
It was the famous cyclist, who unfortunately was a cheat as well, which
Yes.
um, kind of puts a damper on anything that you discuss in his context. He was cheating, but
Mm.
there was no doubt that he also attained a different state of mind. He had a mindset that others found it hard to match. So when I read his autobiography, it's not about the bike, I think it was called. He said it was like, his words were, it was like the cycling made him clean. It was like he'd go and he'd cycle for 5-6 hours at a time, and it was just going through the pain barrier. And he said it made him clean. It was like, I understood what he meant, because the pain it's so all encompassing when you're doing something as grueling as that he had to let go and go into an awareness beyond the pain in order to allow him to do that. And so his description was like, well, I felt like I was cleaned. It was like, cleaned his mind. He came out of that, and he was very calm and very clear and very empty. And so that's actually what he was doing. He was doing a spiritual practice on the bike. He wouldn't have thought of it as that. And sadly, he was cheating as well, because he had the ego goal of wanting to be the best. But there was a spiritual element to it, that he actually he obviously got a change of state out of that that intense exercise, to change his state, and he found that attractive. He liked it, just is why he did it. So going through the pain barrier, you have to go beyond it to another state of awareness, and that's what he was describing, sort of a clean state. So if you can go into the zone through it, and you're just in a state of flow where you surrendered, and there's no resistance anymore, you're not really trying, it's just happening through you, then it's taking you into an altered state. And that's spiritual practice. You're in a moving meditation then, if you're in that state. And it's very enjoyable state to be in. So approach it like that. You're cycling this however long, 100 kilometers. Well, okay, I'm just, it's not about the pain and pushing and achieving. It's just, I'm going into a state of mind beyond the illusion of pain and any mental anguish. If you can move beyond the state where you're suffering mentally, emotionally, and you're just doing it, that's profound. So
I was
that's
thinking more
that's
along
what
the
you.
lines, I like when I get that pain, I just like stop, smell the rose.
Well, just try it in your training. Say, okay, it's just pain. It's like you can use it as a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
It's like vipassana. You can just observe this sensation in your body, because that's all it is, and not label it as pain, and not label it as something that's a problem. And obviously, someone like Lance Armstrong got very good at that, from hours and hours and hours of doing it. He got very good at, like, okay, I can go through the pain barrier because I know how to go into that higher state of awareness. And that was one of the reasons why he won, was because he was able to do that. He cheated as well, so that gave him extra help. But if he hadn't been mentally that strong, I don't think he would have won 7 times. Yeah, he was incredibly mentally strong because he could do that. He had the ability of going through the pain barrier and going into this altered state of awareness on the bike, which it seemed like a lot of his competitors didn't. They couldn't go there to the same extent. So he could just push himself. I remember reading one thing where he said, I was like zoning out. He'd reached the end of his kind of glucose, and he was, they call it bonking. It's just like there's nothing left. You can't. There's no energy left. And yet somehow he continued. And he said, I don't know how. I just, went through that, and I carried on pedaling, and I actually finished. I think he won that stage, but he was totally out of it. It was just pure, just going into an altered state, and it wasn't him doing it anymore. He just felt like he was being done through on the bike by some presence. So this is all what we understand as spiritual practice and experience. For him it was happening on his bike. It's not about the bike, hence the so use it. You say, okay, I'm open, spirit, to this being to this experience showing me something very profound, and then I can use it for taking you into an altered state that takes you closer to God. And that's very enjoyable. That's a flow state. That's moving meditation, where you go beyond the normal limits, and you're not bound by the same thoughts and emotions that most people are. Which is why elite athletes can do what they do, because they can go there. They've trained their minds and their bodies, but primarily their minds, to go there, go beyond the limits that other people see as a barrier. They just they know how to transcend it. So for all of his cheating, Lance Armstrong certainly knew how to do that, and I think that was one of the reasons why he won 7 times. Because even cheating, still, it's still an extraordinary accomplishment to do it.
Yeah, maybe he didn't cheat all those time. This is the Tour de France that he won 7 times.
Yeah, I think he did cheat, but still, there are other people cheating too. Everyone's cheating. That's the truth of the matter in that race. Everyone's on the juice, because it's such an insanely hard race and to be competitive, you have to. So everyone's cheating. So okay, maybe he was cheating better than others, or maybe he just had something else. He did have a mindset that made him this really top competitor, because he knew how to do that. Maybe it had something to do with his cancer. But he kind of gone through that pain barrier with chemo, and so he sort of knew how to do it. I don't know, but whatever it was, he taught himself to go somewhere where other people couldn't go, like beyond the limit of what other competitors would be able to do, and as a result of that, he could just go that extra bit. Like that experience where he was like totally out of it. He said, I don't know how I did it. I completely that wasn't the drugs that got him through that. That was his mind. So it's a shame that he did cheat, because otherwise you could say he's a he's a hero, and he's followed this path. But his ego was also involved. Unfortunately, he hadn't completely let go of the egoic desire to be the best and win. So for him, it was win at all costs. Not just okay, I'm doing this for myself. He had to win, which meant he had to cheat. And he just went, okay, well, I'm going to cheat as well as I can, and I'm going to lie in order to do that. So that it's a good lesson, really. It's like don't go there. There was an element of spiritual in it, but he allowed that to be corrupted and sabotaged by the ego. And now, of course, no one respects him. So he might have gone down as the greatest cyclist ever, and now he's just a cheat, and none of those wins count. But that's a spiritual lesson, isn't it? It's like, wow, what a major life lesson that is, which he may still be trying to work through. Lots of forgiveness of himself required. Okay, so shall we have a little look at today's section from the Manual for Teachers.
Yeah.
How should the teacher of God spend his day is the question that Yeshua is answering. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, so can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so how should the teacher of God spend his day is the question. So if you want to read the answer, I've started some translations, so you can go straight into that if you like.
Okay. So just what was the title again? My mind went.
The question is, how should the teacher of God spend?
How should the teacher of God spend? Oh yes. Okay. Yes.
It's quite nice. So he's actually getting very practical with this. He said, okay, well, let's look at. We've done a lot of metaphysics and high level teaching, but this is practically how should you actually spend your day? How should you structure your day? So it's giving us some guidance on how we should do that, which is very helpful. So to the advanced teacher of God, this question is meaningless. In fact, I've got let's just copy and paste. So I was busy doing some translation while we were chatting. Okay, so there you go. If you read from the to the advanced teacher, perfect love.
To the advanced teacher of perfect love, this question is meaningless. There is no program, for the lessons change each day. Yet the teacher of perfect love is sure of but one thing: they do not change at random. Seeing this and understanding that it is true, he rests content.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they do not change at random. We're talking about the lessons do not change at random.
Lessons change each day.
Yeah, but they say
so what the teacher of God sees is that there's a curriculum. There's some kind of a divine intelligence behind the lessons.
But I mean, the order doesn't matter necessarily, right?
What, the order of lessons?
Or maybe yeah.
Yeah, well, he's not specifically talking about workbook lessons. The lessons, the life lessons change each day.
Oh,
The program, the lessons change each day. it's an evolving curriculum. Every day is different, and you get different lessons coming up.
But he's not referring to, are you saying he's not necessarily referring to the Course of Miracles curriculum? You're just saying the curriculum of life?
No, yeah. The lessons are not just workbook lessons. The lessons are general lessons, spiritual lessons.
What
the lessons
appears
of life,
miracle.
whatever arises, and that changes each day.
Okay.
You do not change at random.
Right.
So they don't change at random because there's a program he's on. The Holy Spirit is guiding his particular journey home, his awakening, and so nothing's at random. It's all being guided, and you do start to see, that there's a program and there's a process to this. And if you've got, your own your own blocks to awareness of love's presence, and the Holy Spirit's going to help you to. It's an individualized curriculum to help you to undo those. So all of what he's saying is it's all being guided by a divine hand, by the Holy Spirit, and an advanced teacher knows that. So he rests content. I think it's she rests content. Okay, and carry on.
She will be told all that her role should be this day and every day. And those who share that role with her will find her, so they can learn the lessons for the day together.
So our brothers, our companions, are there to help us learn our lessons.
Yep.
And one is sent without a learning goal already set. So there is, but beneath all the chaos, there is actually this divine intelligence working through all of the relationships, situations, to help you, if you can see that and allow it.
I know. Well, I don't know. It's been revealed like that. I just think of, besides my own situations where people or loved ones are, it's like they keep pushing consistently a certain way, and the same result happens, but somehow they think a different result is going to come at some point.
Yeah, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah, but it's almost like they just, I think the voice is pushed to be heard. They're not getting the response that they want. I feel it's unjust. I suppose that's what we see in the big, like, I suppose, maybe coming back to the South Africa situation, if Ramaphosa will resign, but Zuma, that story is still going on. But it's like, I don't know. And what do we do? Watch on the sidelines? Or not even watch? Not even give it its energy, or?
Well, don't let it upset you in any way. That's number one principle. Do your own forgiveness. Maybe you can be helpful, maybe you can't. Maybe they've just got to go through what they need to go through to learn the hard way. Hit your head against the brick wall a few times, and maybe they'll learn. So you don't know. Just ask for guidance. If you're really in that state of pure formless awareness, perfect love, then from that state, whatever guidance comes is correct. That might be do nothing. I'd be like, well, it's not your place. You can't say anything. They just they need to play this out. Or maybe the Holy Spirit just says, okay, now would be a good time, and you can actually say something that might be meaningful, it might help. But you just guided in the moment by moment, as to what to do and say.
Yeah.
Okay, let me carry on. Not one is absent.
Not one is absent whom she needs. Not one is absent whom she needs. Everyone is sent with a learning goal already set, and one which can be learned that very day. For the advanced teacher of perfect love, then, this question is superfluous. It has been asked and answered, and she keeps in constant contact with the answer. She is set and sees the road on which she walks stretch surely and smoothly before her.
So any thoughts on that?
So the question is the title of this section. When I say this question is superfluous.
Yes,
yeah.
So the question of how should the teacher of God spend his day or her day?
Yeah. So I think from what I read, it's not really about actively constructing the day. It's accepting that there's things or situations or people that are flowing into your life, and they come for a reason. If you can see that or experience that and be aware of what they could teach you, maybe if you're tapping into the Holy Spirit, somehow that's going to provide you guidance in terms of how you respond to these situations. Something like that.
And you have the confidence that okay, this is all part of the curriculum, my individualized, as this is a highly individualized curriculum. And you ask the question, what's there for me to learn from this? So, well, why is this person behaving so badly, or why are they doing this? Or, externalize it. So, okay, so what's there for me to learn from this? There's always a lesson here. So, what can I learn? If I'm resisting that lesson, let me look at it and say, okay, well, what am I resisting? Seeing. So what he's talking about here is a mindset of learning from everything. All things work for good. So even the pain and the suffering and the trauma that seems to happen in life can be used for good if you have this mindset. Okay, well, what's the lesson then? No matter what's happened, if it's triggering negative thoughts and emotions, the ego, then it's useful. So it's another opportunity to let them go.
I mean, when going through such emotional pain, this is what comes up continuously is, I'm saying also, what you talk about, the sessions is, well, I suppose like that the instrument for peace, like what, you drill down to what your belief is. So is that part of this working out of the lesson?
Yeah.
It just feels like it gets, like with these layers, it gets to like something very different to what you think it might be, is all like, like a lesson could be, okay, well, the on the form level it would be, okay, someone cheated on you or whatever, and then you feel, on that form it's like, okay, well, you're not going to be as trusting, or you're going to, that's what people go through.
Yeah.
But
they don't ask themselves usually this question, okay, so what's there for me to learn here?
Well, they do, but that's what they be that their answer. Oh yeah, well, like someone who said, okay, there's someone, they resigned, they thought they were going to resign, but someone talked them out of it, and now they say, oh, I wish I just trusted my intuition. But that's on the level of form. It's not getting to what, like say, an instrument of peace is that belief and then lack of love. It's just about, okay, well, I should have trusted my intuition, and then meaning I would have acted in a different way. But that way, on that level of form, is more that, okay, I would have not paid them earlier, I would have paid them later to make sure that they don't quit because they need to be paid. That was the decision point. Is that a Holy Spirit thing or an ego thing? What's your view on that?
Well, Holy Spirit can give you guidance. I mean, I had a situation with payment about 18 months ago. I think I mentioned it to you, where I got specific guidance about what to do. It's like, okay, just leave it to me. Accept the guy's offer and leave the that extra payment to me. And it was very clear, and it felt good, and it felt right. And it was absolutely the right guidance, because the guy died very soon after. So it would have been an absolute disaster if I dug in my heels and said, okay, well, I'm going for the full amount because I deserve that. So you've got to tap in and listen and start to learn, as advanced teacher of God, what the Holy Spirit feels like, and then trust that, because that guidance is true and everything else is not. So this is wisdom to learn how to surrender and listen, become an advanced teacher of perfect love. It's a process. You might not know initially, but as you start to learn what that voice sounds like and listen to it more, it becomes easier and easier to follow. You go, okay, I know that. That's familiar. I know that voice. And so you turn to guidance always for it. In every situation, the advanced teacher will say, okay, well, show me what, not my will, but thy will. What do you want me to do here? And try and remove, his or her ego out of the equation. So be aware of any block arising. Say, okay, but I can let that go. And then open my mind to another perception of the situation that will then bring in guidance, and you deal with it very differently from that perspective. So it's perception. It's a way of perceiving problems and then solving them that he's training us in. So this is part of the mind training, to become an advanced teacher, so that you realize, okay, it's all happening for you. Your learning goals are being directed by the Holy Spirit, and you're just showing up very willingly to go through the experiences that have been set for you, the lessons that have been set. But like going to school, you go to school and you don't design the lessons. You just go to school and the lessons are given to you. The teachers design them as a curriculum. But you can show up and you can, learn from the lessons and do them as best as you can, or you can resist them. So it's quite similar life. Curriculum is set, but how you perceive it is up to you.
Sure. I think that's a lesson in itself, is figuring out the ego voice versus the spirit voice. Or figure out whatever it is, not the voice, just whatever it is. It's very, for me, that's a challenge within itself.
Well, in some ways, that's what we're doing. The whole Course in Miracles is about learning that discernment. Okay, so which voice is which? So that I know and I don't have any doubts, and I can listen to the right voice. I know that it's the right voice, and I don't get confused, because the ego specializes in confusion. It's got its own voice, and it's confused us. It thinks it's got us to believe that voice is the correct one. So in some ways, this is just choosing this whole course is about being able to choose which voice you listen to, having the discernment to know, okay,
Yeah, having that
that voice is
discernment,
the
yeah.
ego, that's the Holy Spirit, and do it consistently, correctly, in the very different situations that can unfold in life. So you start to learn what that voice is and what it sounds like in all kinds of different situations, and learn to trust it. And these lessons are for the advanced teachers. So, okay, well, to help you advance in your practice and in your teaching of love, he's giving us these because these are questions that might come up. What should I do with my day? Okay, well, the advanced teacher has surrendered, so it's a question that's superfluous. They're not asking how to structure their day anymore. They've just surrendered to the day and said, all right, well, it's all perfect however it happens, and I'll show up in this very present, non-judgmental way, and I'll learn the lessons. So then he says, what about those who have not reached the certainty? So, which is encouraging. So he's giving us, maybe he gives us course at the level that we're at. So he says, okay, so that level of certainty might not be yours yet, so that's okay. We can work with that. So if you want to read number 2.
But what about those who have not reached his certainty or her certainty? But her certainty.
I want to say this certainty.
Okay, the certainty. They are not yet ready for such lack of structuring on their own part. What must they do to learn to give the day to pure formless awareness of perfect love? There are some general rules which do apply, although each one must use them as best as she can in her own way. Routines as such are dangerous because they easily become gods in their own right, threatening the very goals in which they were set up. Broadly speaking, then, it can be said that it is well to start the day right. It is always possible to begin again, should the day begin with error. Yet there are obvious advantages in terms of saving time.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the certainty is about is a certainty about that question being superfluous.
Yeah, exactly. So advanced teacher is just in the flow. They just trust.
Yeah.
Whatever comes. They learn the lessons, and they're in a mindset where they don't need structure because they're just totally present and are able to learn whatever lessons are presented. But so it's the some are not yet ready for such lack of structure on their own part. So
well, is that more
a bit more structure in your day?
Because you might have a structured day, but you're not sort of obsessed about it. I mean, like,
you shouldn't be obsessed.
That's what it's really, because this is what's spoken about many times when you talk about flow. It doesn't mean to say it's in action, and there is that level of, I mean, your day is structured, Jono, right? I mean, it's structured just in the sense of running this course, right? I mean, there's a lot of structure.
There has to be structure
to
run it, otherwise I couldn't do it. So I kind of flow within that. So every day is a little bit different, and there's some days that I get less sleep than others, and it just just depends. I do what feels right in the moment, but because this particular course has a time. Time. It's like, okay, we're going to start at a certain time, which it has to. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. Oh well, I'll see you sometime.
Yeah.
It's not going to work,
No,
is it?
well, that's,
Mm.
but
You
I
have,
think
you have to
that's
be
where
specific.
it's like being bound by time, for instance. So we have to do these self evaluations for performance reviews, and it's all like, it all had to be in yesterday by everyone. And I didn't do mine by yesterday, I did it today. I mean, and it's like, well, it's not, it's an imposed deadline. It's not like someone's going to die because I haven't done it. My boss who would review it is even on leave to, you know what I mean? There's no real consequence about it. But at the same time, it's like, well, they need to do something consistent to be practical, because you can't give everyone their own deadline, right? You know what I'm saying? So I understand the reason behind it. And it's also, I think it's just, I suppose when you set times to start something, it's a matter of mutual respect to kind of meet that. So maybe it's just not kind of being attached or obsessed about it, or like the world's going to end. You know what I'm saying? That's how I reason through these things, as an example.
Yeah,
but
exactly. It didn't really matter that you did it a day late. But
no, there's no like real consequence in terms of, it's not like, I don't know, someone's like, say someone's got cancer and they miss, like there's no kind of consequence in terms of someone was in danger or getting hurt, etc. at all.
Yeah.
So, it's putting that into perspective.
Yeah.
Whereas,
exactly.
someone has to do their job and chasing you, like, you haven't done this. And then they're like, if you haven't done this by then, this will happen. And
well, then it can just become, just rules for the sake of rules, because someone said you've got to do it by then. Or any intelligent organization will say, okay, look, we have to put in place some deadline, but a boss who's got a bit more wisdom, so okay, it's fine. Kim's really got a problem. I'm away anyway. I wouldn't have looked at it. So, you're a day late.
It's not like I'm going to be punished now.
No, because that's just being rule bound, because you didn't meet the form of it. You didn't meet the form of the deadline. It's just because you didn't meet that. That's just childish.
Yeah.
When actually it has no consequence.
Yeah.
To anyone, and you can discern that. Okay, I'm not negatively affecting anyone by doing this, so why not? and so that's the discernment. Whereas the strict, rigid, rule bound is like you must do exactly what they say, kind of military style discipline.
Well, it's just about the discipline. I think it's putting in that mindset as well. And maybe with the military one, I think the reason behind my thinking is a reason, the more workable reason is, if you're in combat, for me it's a balance, because if you're in a mission, there's certain things you have to be kind of precision disciplined about, and that's building that discipline. But then again, things cannot happen the way
the danger of being totally rigid is you're not flexible enough. It's like too rigid and too programmed. There's not the ability to flow and make your own decisions.
So
it's like, well, there's no let's say you're in combat and your commander or lieutenant or sergeant or whatever is injured or was not there, then you have to have some initiative. Okay, well, what are we going to do now?
Exactly.
You train people to only follow orders, and there's no initiative. Interesting. Did you watch Forrest Gump? Because there was a bit of that. Did you watch it at the weekend or not?
Yeah. Well, I've watched it last year when we spoke about it. I didn't watch it in the last week or so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So if you remember right, I mean, he was like the perfect soldier, because he was like, well, I just do. My mission is to do whatever you say, drill sergeant.
Yes.
Oh, you're a goddamn genius, Forrest. Just do whatever I say. But yet, he was able in the combat, when it was all happening, he went with his heart, didn't he? He went, okay, I know this isn't an order, but he went back repeatedly to pull injured people out, because that was his heart speaking, saying, well, I must go and save him. That's the right thing to do. No one ordered him to do that. So, although he was, he was a great soldier because he just, followed the rules and did exactly what he was told without question. He was in that situation, combat situation, he was able to flow because he was a kind, loving guy, and so he did what was right. And no one ordered him to do that. So he was able to transcend the limits of the programming, and then the army rewarded him by giving him medal, saying, well done, because you did take the initiative. There was no order. You didn't have to do that. You could have gone and ducked out of the combat zone and not risked your life, but you did it because you had this compassion really for your fellow soldiers. So it's knowing when to follow the rules and when not to, and only the Holy Spirit can guide you in that. Is kind of what he's saying here. So I'm going to continue. They are not yet ready for structure in their own part. What must they do to learn?
What must they do to learn to give the day to perfect love? There are some general rules which do apply, although each one must use them as best as she can in her own way. Routines as such are dangerous because they easily become gods in their own right, threatening the very goals for which they were set up. Broadly speaking, then it can be said that it is well to start the day right. It's always possible to begin again should the day begin with error, yet there are obvious advantages in terms of saving time. I know I read this already, but yeah, doing something for the sake of it, or having that obsession because I need to stick to this, because I just need to stick to this, because I just need to stick to it, because I need to be disciplined, and it's that obsession.
Yeah.
It's not really,
and that's not healthy. I'll give you a classic example of that. There was a guy called Jim Fix, I think was his name. He was the jogging guru in the 70s when jogging became like a craze. He was the man, and he decided in his mind that he was going to run 5 miles a day, no matter what. That was his rule. Come rain or shine, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because he was Jim Fix and he was the jogging guy, right? So he had a fixed belief in his mind. And then one day he wasn't feeling particularly well. I think he had some flu or cold or something, and he'd driven, done quite a long drive. He wasn't feeling great, but he was like, no, I have to go for my run. So he finished his drive and put on his shoes, went for his run, and he dropped dead. Because he wasn't listening to his body saying, mind body saying, not today, give yourself a rest. So he'd become too, rule bound, and that killed him eventually. Not to have the flexibility to say, okay, you know what, today, just listen to what's happening. I'm not feeling good. It's okay if I take one day off. But his conceptual mind was too fixated on, it was a self-concept really that killed him, because he was the jogging guy. So he had to do his 5 miles a day because he was Jim Fix, who was the hero for a generation of joggers who'd written the books. And so the self-concept in the end killed him. The self-concept caused him to be so fixated on the routine that he couldn't vary it, and then it became a life-threatening situation. Whereas if he'd rested that day, the next day might have been okay. Probably wouldn't have had a heart attack. It's just he overstressed his system. He put too much of a load on it, and that triggered it. Okay, so he's just saying here, beware of routines. It's well to have some structure, but routines are dangerous if they become false beliefs in their own right. So try and begin the day well. Started on a good note, which is what I've thought of letting go. I'm saying we'll start off with a meditation, ideally, so that you can start on on a good note. Start again. If you didn't get off on a good note, then you can always you can start again. You could do something else,
I
do a
mean,
breath break or something. It's not like the whole day is a write-off because you didn't get your meditation.
yeah,
In some ways, this program has been good for me because of the like extreme workload. I don't always get to meditate. And before it would have been like, oh, I'm not meditating, this is a problem. Now it's okay, well, so be it.
yeah,
This is just what I need to do now to
yeah,
to do this, which is its own, I mean, it is kind of a spiritual practice anyway. Sitting for hours, doing all this, writing. I mean, it's a bit like the work these monks do. And they arrange the beads, and it's just like very detailed, painstaking, but it's a spiritual practice in its own right. So
yeah,
just go, okay, well, that's all right. I'm doing spiritual practice anyway. It's just in another form,
yeah.
and
It's
it's
just
okay.
another form. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's what I gather from this, and it's also what, I mean, we've spoken about this because, from our perspective, it's like, do what you can. It doesn't have to be perfect like this. It's just, okay, well, you didn't do it, but you can do that. There's different aspects, or there's something practical about learning. I mean, you're working with this content continuously, Jono. So, yeah.
Well, I just live it, breathe it. So it's like, okay, well, if I don't do all the meditation, I can't. I would like to actually. Maybe once it's all done, I'll become the model student to do everything exactly as I've said to do it. But because I'm developing the content, there's no way I have the time, because it takes hours to develop the content. Plus, then you've got to practice it.
Yeah.
So it's fine. All right. Well, that's okay. And that's just how it is. I've got to do what I've got to do to do this. It's a process. Without, there's no like self-flagellation or you being a slacker, or I'm just doing what I need to do to. This is my particular form of spiritual practice. As he says, the curriculum's highly individualized. So you learn what you need to learn. A lot of the time I meditate when I'm actually guiding the meditations. I'm meditating, but I'm speaking. So that's own spiritual practice. Oh, well, I'm in an altered state as well.
Okay.
I've had to learn to meditate while I'm speaking.
So, wow.
Which is its own kind of spiritual practice. So, because I'm in an altered state, and then somehow, the words are still coming through.
Yeah.
I completely zone out that I can't speak. It's still able to come through. But so these are all lessons I've had to learn. That's my individualized curriculum, and it's all fine because of what I've chosen to take on. And there's no judgment or guilt, or you're doing it badly, or
there's all different forms, and it's like, otherwise you spoke about that in this afternoon session. I mean, people want to go on a retreat and have things set up where it's like away from everything, but this is part of life. So you doing this as your I mean, it's your vocation, wrapped, like, isn't that what? So why does it have to be that you have to meditate to have a spiritual practice? No.
There's many ways. I mean, in an altered state, it's not always a normal state of consciousness. Sometimes I'm working and I'm tired, but somehow it's like happening through me. I can't explain it. Something takes over. It's just kind of happening through me, and I can, even though I'm like half asleep, so it's like an alpha state. It's still able to come through, and I'm working quite effectively on that. Maybe it takes a little bit longer because I have these moments of like, okay, nothing happens, and and then it continues. But you learn that. So it's an highly individualized curriculum, as he says. You're going to learn what you need to learn, and you work with the Holy Spirit as your guide and your teacher. And then you are your own master, really. You're just listening to the guidance, and you determining. And I've always done that. I've done many different practices, but I've always gone, okay, does this actually work for me intuitively? And if it doesn't, then I stop. Like, okay, well, that served its purpose. And I think that, that served me well, because you can't carry on doing everything you've ever done. There comes a time where you go, okay, I was quite disciplined in doing it for a while, and then for whatever reason, it just doesn't feel right anymore. And so then you leave that behind, and you evolve to something else. But if you carried, imagine if you're still doing the practices you were doing 20 years ago. You couldn't do all of that and still advance. There's just not enough time.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to let go of even practices that have served you. They might have worked quite well, but okay, now there comes a time when you go, that's not, I know intuitively that's not serving me anymore. So
all right. Okay, I mean that I think that's the key, is whether it's serving you.
And what tells you? Well, there's just an intuition. So, you're working with your individualized teacher. There's a teacher for every one of us. It's the Holy Spirit. But if you can tap into it, it's going to tell you, yeah, okay, that's a good idea for you now. Okay, maybe that's not working for you. That's okay. You can leave that one behind. Because it's not about, you don't become rule bound. It's not about the rituals and the practices.
Yeah.
In the end, it's about the state of mind. And, the advanced teacher understands that and goes, well, it doesn't really matter what the practices are. I can be in that state of mind anyway. So move beyond practice and beyond ritual.
Well, I think people, it's part of the growth. They talk about, okay, I'm just using something like material now. I mean, things that you put on your skin, like I know they say your skin gets used to, like, say, moisturize after a while. So if you try something different, you'll see it like does something. Whereas it's kind of doesn't really do anything for you anymore, so to speak. So for me, that's not serving you. Whereas maybe if you try like work with something else, maybe, it could be like things that you eat. Like there's nothing wrong with the food, but it's like your body or your mind or your spirit is maybe now saying, okay, well, this worked for you now, but you can move on to this, because now there's like another learning that you're going to have. Maybe there's not something that you're going to learn from that ritual or meditation anymore. That one,
it's actually quite a dynamic curriculum, even though we're talking about pure formless awareness of perfect love that's unchanging. In the learning of that, it's a very dynamic, changing curriculum and it's highly individualized for each person, which is seemingly a paradox, but that is how it works. Because the Holy Spirit it's rooted in the truth, but it can use whatever the situation is accordingly. So, okay, well, yeah, that's going to be helpful now. Oh, okay, use that, do that. And it knows somehow what's actually good for you. And it's just learning to tap into this, which is part of why he's doing this lesson for us. It's really an FAQ, the manual for teachers. This is the frequently asked questions of the course. And so, okay, so these are some of the questions that might be asked, and so he's going to give us the answer. Okay, so number 3, at the beginning, it's wise to think in terms of time.
At the beginning, it is wise to think in terms of time. This is by no means the ultimate criterion, but at the outset, it is probably the simplest to observe. The saving of time is an essential early emphasis, which, although it remains important throughout the learning process, becomes less and less emphasized. At the outset, we can safely say that time devoted to starting the day does right indeed save time. How much time should be so spent? This must depend on the teacher of perfect love himself. He cannot claim that title until he has gone through the workbook, since we are learning within the framework of our course. After completion of the more structured practice periods, which the workbook contains, individual needs to become the chief consideration. So what I'm reading from here is the time it's important. If I take the context of the course, because they structured, okay, 15 minutes in the morning, every hour, 15 minutes in the evening, for example. and it's giving you that structure. And from what I interpret, the time saving is that following that it's like you're going to get faster. Your spiritual growth is going to get faster, if you are trying to stick to this structure. But then as the more advanced we get along it, maybe, and again, maybe it's the whole iterations of doing the course and course again, it's less important for that time structure, because you probably find part of the course is to work out what's daily in connecting to spirit, what we just spoke about, tuning into spirit, seeing things. So the actual form of these lessons in terms of time, you don't have to spend like 15 minutes, or, for example, that's how I interpret it.
Yeah, he's saying, start off with and follow the course and do it.
Yeah.
Going within the framework of our course. So do the course, do the workbook, do it as well as you can with the structure that he's given you, because that's your learning. That's the training to become an advanced teacher, where you can get to the point where the individual need becomes the chief consideration. And in subsequent years, you do the workbook really well once, you might go, okay, well, I don't necessarily have to practice it every hour, or if I can't do 15 minutes, if I just bring it to mind and I do a little short reminder in the morning, that's okay, or whatever. And so there's a bit more flow that will come in with it. And that's sort of where I've got to say, okay, I don't need to be like rigidly, because I'm dealing with these lessons all the time. I'm writing about them, I'm thinking about them, speaking about them for hours. So yeah, it's okay. I don't necessarily need to practice it every hour. But
I would feel totally like that, Jono, if I was you. I'd be like, yeah,
I just don't have I don't have the time, because I'm up against every day. I've got a deadline to produce more content, so it's like every minute counts. So for now, this is where it is. Next year, when all the content's done, then it'll change again. It might be like, okay, I would actually like to do it properly, do my own program really, as properly as I could, just to try it out. Go, okay, so I'll be the guinea pig. If I actually do this, really, as I recommended, what will happen? That's interesting for me. I'm like, okay, well, I'd like to try that, but it's got to be doable. I can't. I have to have the capacity to do it. And if I'm also spending hours producing the content, that capacity is not there at the moment. So that's okay. And so then the Holy Spirit's just working with me and saying, yeah, so it's okay. You might call it common sense. It's kind of, common sense, but often, common sense isn't very common, because people do have all kinds of things where, they might beat themselves up and they feel guilty, and they go, well, I'm not doing it properly, and all this kind of stuff, which you then load on yourself, which isn't helpful. Or like, I'm not doing it, so I'm an imposter, and this isn't, this isn't right. And so being really rigid and hard, well, that's kind of the opposite of what letting go and flow is about, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the structure's there to help. Is only saying initially it's helpful to have some structure, and it's helpful to follow the general directions of what he's saying to do in the workbook, but don't be don't be rigidly obsessed about it, because then you're missing the point. So if you miss a practice period for some reason, well, okay, the world didn't end, it's okay, you just pick it up and do one later. So any other thoughts on number 4, on number 3?
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Just one point here, she cannot claim the title of teacher of God until she's gone through the workbook. So he's saying to you, look, if you're going to do this, do it properly. Don't say, I'm a teacher of God. I know of people who say I'm a Course in Miracles teacher, and they haven't read the whole book. themselves. They haven't actually gone through the workbook
Mm.
or the text. Well, how can you be a teacher of God if you haven't done it yourself? It's not possible. So he's saying, well, be authentic in your process, that you've actually done it yourself to the best of your ability, and that, then that qualifies you to be the teacher of God. So, reasonable level of diligence without killing yourself and saying, well, I have to do this and I have to do this. It's just, it's reasonable. And individual need becomes the chief consideration. Okay. So number 4, let's just grab this. I'm going to read that. This course is always practical.
This course is always practical. It may be that the teacher of perfect love is not in a situation that fosters quiet thought as he awakes. If this is so, let him but remember that he chooses to spend time in pure formless awareness of perfect love as soon as possible, and let him do so. Duration is not the major concern. One can easily sit still an hour with closed eyes and accomplish nothing. One can as easily give pure formless awareness of perfect love only an instant, and in that instant join with him completely. Perhaps the one generalization that can be made is this: as soon as possible after waking, take your quiet time, continuing a minute or two after you begin to find it difficult. You may find that the difficulty will diminish and drop away. If not, that is the time to stop.
So it's giving us a few guidelines. So as soon as possible after you wake up, take some quiet time.
Apparently, anyway, I remember Abraham Hicks has said this, is to also go through into that in the morning. They call it like a morning rampage of just getting to that positivity. Well, it's positivity, but it's really getting to that state is the main thing. And because while you're sleeping, you're not in that like resistance state. It's a good time to do that, because then it's supposed to also set you up. So like with the breath breaks, it's changing that state, or with the meditation. So it's this. I think it's the same message, really.
And
to
in the
do
first
it
5
first
minutes,
thing, because
what's
you've
important
already
to know?
out of that resistance. You're not in that resistance while you were sleeping. So,
and your first 5 minutes, when you come and you wake up, you're in an alpha state.
Yeah.
So that's kind of golden time. If you take that and you say, okay, well, let me just take that 5 minutes, and instead of coming into beta, a lot of people get up and they'll switch the radio on, and suddenly you go, okay, no, so take that time. I'm in alpha anyway, and let me just go into a meditation in that time. And I extend that alpha state maybe for 10 or 20 minutes, because I'm already in alpha when I get up. So what he's saying here is use that. It's golden time. Use it in the morning. And then when it starts to become difficult, so you might do it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then maybe there's some restlessness, or you start thinking about the day ahead, and then it's time to stop. So he's not saying force the issue. Oh, well, I have to do half an hour. He's saying, well,
yeah,
okay, just listen. If you've done your 5 or 10 minutes or however long it was, that's okay. And as he says, one instant can be enough. I had, probably the most profound spiritual experience of my life, and it was, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes, maybe, who knows? Not a long time. I know that for sure, because although in that experience there was no time, I know it because there was a time schedule they kept to with the meditations. I didn't have a watch, so I couldn't tell directly. But I know it wasn't an hour or two, because I had to go fairly soon after that to another meditation in the hall. So it was probably a minute, maybe less, maybe 30 seconds, just an opening into pure formless awareness where there was nothing else, and it was just that awareness. And I can't say how long that lasted, but that instant, as he says, was enough. That glimpse, that moment, was enough for the entire Course in Miracles to drop in, and I just got it. And for me to then take this teaching to another level, because after that, I started the Art of Letting Go course again, and Sue and John and some of the other people from the UK came on, and that was really what the foundation of what's currently happening. So it was like taking it to another level, and just that instant was enough. It didn't need to be an hour of bliss. It was just 30 seconds or a minute was enough to give me the insight that I needed.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so profound, like the quality of it,
Yeah, and that's what he's saying. It's not time. We're not talking about quantity here. Oh, well, I've done. And I did sort of feel a little bit like they kind of lost the plot of it with the Vipassana, because it was more like, right, you need to put in the hours. It's going to be like 60-day retreats, meditating 12 hours a day. Like, at what point does the practice become an obsession? And it's become more about the practice than about actually the goal is to awaken your mind. And I did ask that question, and the teacher didn't give me a very good answer. She just said, "Oh, no, there's no danger of that." I was like, really? Okay. I don't think so, actually, because what I observed was it had started to become more about the practice than actually about awakening. And so the practice becomes a god, becomes another false belief that actually becomes an obstacle on your path, right? Something that's helping you, because you're just doing the practice because you've always done the practice for 25 years, and you need to do your 4 to 6 hours a day. Otherwise, you're not doing the practice properly, and you're not, you the Vipassana teacher that you should be. So, this particular teacher was doing 4 to 6 hours a day meditation, plus 30-day, not just 10-day, 30-day and 60-day retreats. And yet, I asked her, well, so what do you think about God? And her answer was, I don't think there's anything other than the impermanent, because the whole Buddhist teaching is anicca, the impermanence of life. So I don't think there's anything other than that. And I went, whoa, okay. You've been doing this for 25 years, 4 to 6 hours a day and all this, and you still don't know that there's something permanent about reality. You still haven't got to that level. Okay, there's something wrong there, isn't there? So there's one instant that I had gave me, maybe more insight than she's had in 25 years. Who knows? Because I was open. So that's the point he's making. It's not about the length of time and getting obsessed with that. It's like in an instant, you can get more than someone who's spent a lifetime trying in the wrong state of mind, because you've just opened into that pure formless awareness and into that experience for that moment. And and it's funny because I actually, to get that experience, I had to deny the rules. I had to defy the rules, because they'd said, don't, whatever you do, don't lie down on your bed when you're supposed to be practicing. You need to sit up, you need to do and on day 9 I was like, right, I'm really tired, I'm just, what, it just feels right, I'm just going to lie down for a bit, even though it was officially the meditation time. And when I lay down and I just let go in that moment of all the practice and all the discipline, I was like, then the experience happened, because there was no fetters anymore. There was no need for any discipline in that moment. I'd had to be disciplined in the lead up. I'd done 12 hours a day and I'd followed the program mainly. But in that moment, the Holy Spirit was like, okay, just lie down. That's fine, because we're going to give you an experience now that is going to just blow your mind. It's going to make this whole retreat worthwhile. And if you stay to the rules, I wouldn't have had the experience, because you're sitting upright in this cross-legged in this meditation posture. It's uncomfortable, and your body's in some pain. There's a resistance there. There's not a full, it's very difficult to fully let go in that posture. So I was willing to just break the rules, and then I got a profound experience as a result, in a holy instant or moment. That was what the whole thing was about, and just preparing me to have that moment. I was like, okay, I get it. I just see with such clarity in that moment, and that you only need one moment like that in your life to change your life, because you got it and you understood. Okay, do as soon as possible after waking. So he's saying, look, meditate in the morning as soon as possible. It's a good idea, and go for as long as it's comfortable.
Yeah, I have to say, I've gone out of in the morning doing the meditation. So I know sometimes, like, because I'm 2 hours ahead of you, and especially if I've woken up like early, like your content's still got to come, and that's like, okay, well, I mean, I can just use the previous days, or it's not like it's has to be that lesson of that day. It's about the meditation or practice.
Do something rather than nothing.
Yeah, or
there's
even
also that
think, okay,
1 hour. There's the 1 hour theta meditation. That you can do as well.
It's the time.
No, I know. Yeah, I mean, it's all there for you. So,
but it's all there, so I can. Yeah, exactly.
So you can choose. You can pick and choose. One day, say, okay, I'll do the half an hour theta meditation today, and the next day, say, okay, I'll do a course lesson. I'll do the meditation that I sent through that day. Ideally, when this program's all done, you'll get your material at like 4 a.m. South African time, because it's all there. But I'm still developing it.
No, I get that. And so I mean, like I said, it's not being regimented around, okay, it has to be that piece of content for that day. But I've just somehow got out of like it's like you say, you reach out for your phone, because I reach out for the phone anyway, because that's where the content is, right? So it is going to be on some electronic mechanism. But I've just been okay. So tomorrow, whatever it is, even if it's a 5-minute breath break, that was from today. So it's something just to get a little bit into that state.
Or maybe you can take half an hour and do one of the theta meditations. And then you can vary it. You can have a bit of fun with it. You say, okay, well, today I'll do, I'll give myself half an hour to do it. Today I'll do that, and another day. And so you kind of keep it a bit light and interesting. It's not like regimented and rigid. And then it works for you. You're like, I'm flowing. The whole art of this is really to have some structure, and then you flow within the structure. Because if you have absolutely no structure, then for a lot of people that's not going to work. That just means they're undisciplined. They don't do it. So that's not what he's saying. He's saying have some structure, and then flow within it. So you're like, okay, you're able to adapt it, and you don't have to be rigid, and it always has to be that one, or at the same time, kind of flow with it. But you've got some structure. Okay, yes, I'll get up and I'll do something when I start. Some kind of form of meditative practice. And if you just set that intention, then it'll happen, even if it's 5 minutes. It's better than
I think that's the main thing, is just to do something. That's more the
which is why I say, look, if you can't do the longer one, here's a 5-minute one. Do the 5 minutes.
Exactly, which I have done.
Better than nothing. So it's all there, and if you want to spend 2 hours doing spiritual practice in the morning, you can. There's enough material. But if you don't have the time and you only have 5 minutes, then okay, there's a breath break. Do the breath break. So you can customize the program according to your need, which is the whole point. I've given lots of material. Some people say, well, you should cut down the material. I'm like, I'm not sure, because then if I do that, there might be people who want more, and then it's not there for them. They might want to do 2 hours of spiritual practice. So it just depends. Don't design the program for the base standard. Design it for the advanced student and say, yeah, but if you can't do that, the material's all there. And just I mean, this is one of the learnings in the Art of Letting Go course, wasn't it? In the first week, it was like, okay, it's okay. There's a lot of content, but you don't have to do it all, so that's fine.
I think that's where we all get like, oh no, because
God, I'm falling behind. I haven't done it all.
You think, although this is building on it, it doesn't mean to say because you missed this previous one, you're not going to be lost. You know what I'm saying? You think like, oh well, I haven't done much the first week, so I have to catch up. Which
but
maybe there's something aspects you can do, but it's
you never will, because there's too much content. So the whole point is just let that go and just every day go, okay, what am I learning today? And the beauty of it being an ongoing program, a year program, is that I'm okay, well, if you didn't get it this time, it's probably going to come around again. The lessons repeat. You get similar themes coming through. His lessons, he repeats the same themes. Sometimes I use the same quotes, sometimes I use different quotes. It's like, if you didn't get the hero's journey first time, you'll get it again and again sometimes. It's like, because it's not a linear program. It's designed to be non-linear, and so that anyone at any point, if you say join now, which is what people are doing, they don't join at day one, they join at day whatever. They still value that because it's a non-linear program, and their curriculum would be, okay, well, I start at lesson 256, for example. That's when I start, and then I'll just cycle through it, and I'll come to lesson 1, and in my own time. But in a way, that's quite good because it gets you out of the linearity of that I have to have done it, in the set order.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that defeats the object. We're not training a linear mindset here. Training a non-dual holistic mindset where you realize you can't really screw this up. It's a thought system, right? So there's no linearity to it. It's just like whatever point you come in, you can come in and you can access it. And then there's no pressure either. It's like the truth is true. It's all there for you, and you can access it in many different ways, in many different forms, using the material that I give as you choose. And it's okay. And that's your individualized curriculum that's playing out for you, which you and the Holy Spirit are designing. Okay, so then he goes on to the night time. We've done the day one. It says in the morning, spend a bit of time, ideally just setting yourself up for the day.
Okay, which one am I reading? 16.5.
Yeah, same procedure should be followed at night.
The same procedures should be followed at night. Perhaps your quiet time should be fairly early in the evening. If it is not feasible for you to take it just before going to sleep, it is not wise to lie down for it. Oh no.
Because you'll fall asleep. Yeah.
I'm always, even in the morning, I'm like lying down a lot. It is better to sit up in whatever position you prefer. Having gone through the work, is it because you're going to fall asleep?
Yeah, because you fall asleep, and then you're not practicing, you're just sleeping. So that's why the rule's there for the Vipassana. There's a reason they have the rule. They say don't lie down, because if you lie down, you're not going to be meditating, you'll go to sleep. So generally that makes sense, but in my case, for that moment, I needed to break the rule to have that experience of just letting go. And I do find actually, I do the Vipassana often lying down with headphones on, and if I'm not tired, well, I don't go to sleep, and it's like my whole body's vibrating on a level that I wouldn't get if I'm in a sitting posture, cross-legged, because I'm in a flow state. That savasana posture opens you up to the universal energy. There's no blockage in your posture. So they're talking about the flow of energy, and then they're sitting in a posture that blocks the flow. I didn't really get that. It was like, why would you do that? I guess you do that because if you lie down, most people fall asleep.
Yeah.
But there's definitely an advantage to being in a savasana, not going to sleep, and then allowing that that flow to come through. So I don't stay rule bound. It's like what works for me.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm not getting enough sleep, then if I do need the sleep, I go into a deep kind of substitute sleep for half an hour or something. I just did that before. That's why I was a bit late. Just did that before the meditation, before the session, and that just boom. In an hour I could get it's like an hour of deep sleep, and I'm fine. So you learn to play with these modalities in a way that works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever can serve there. Yeah. Okay, so having gone through the workbook, you must have come to some conclusions in this respect. If possible, however, just before going to sleep is a desirable time to devote to pure formless awareness of perfect love. It sets your mind to a pattern of rest and orients you away from fear. If it is expedient to expend this time earlier, at least be sure that you do not forget a brief period, not more than a moment will do, in which you close your eyes and think of pure formless awareness of perfect love. Is that just before you go to sleep? So you might have meditated.
So you might have meditated earlier in the evening.
Yeah.
I generally do. I always spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes before bed, just I put on the power sleep track and just do some it just settles you. So it's a very good practice to do. I'd recommend that.
So do you do it at whatever time you go to bed, even if you're going to bed in the early hours of the morning?
Yeah. Whenever, it's just because it winds you down, and just kind of starts clearing that. If you've been busy working or something, it's just like it's the time to settle and clear. And I put on frequency because that just takes you into an alpha state. So it's just like erasing all of that mental activity and preparing you for sleep. And then generally I sleep very well, even if I'm going to sleep at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or something.
Because the other thing you would have been if you've been working, I mean, you're on your laptop, so you've got that like stimulation. They say, before going to bed, say give yourself an hour where you don't look at your laptop, phone, you dull your light a bit, and that sets you up for a good sleep. But the luxury is that I don't think many people, if you say how you're working, Jono,
I don't have an hour to do
4 a.m. do another hour before you go to
no.
I guess that's your way
you've got to adapt accordingly. You've got to go, well, that's possible. Because I'm pushing to get the content out so people get in time, and I've got to finish it before the 12:30 session. So it's like, okay, well, I've got to just do it. And those rules, that's the ideal. But okay, for me, if I have the 10 to 20 minute period, just at the end of the session, and I put on a frequency and I just read a course lesson, I do a bit of breathing, then that's fine. It works for me. I'll go to sleep. So you figure out how to work these for yourself depending on your individual need, and that's mastery, isn't it? You've got all the tools and you go, okay, so there's no dogma. No one's telling me what I should and shouldn't be doing, because how do they know? Someone said, well, that's absolutely the rule. How do they really know? Someone's decided that. Generally, maybe it's true, but you've got to customize it for you, and that's between you and the Holy Spirit. So he's just giving us a few guidelines here, and then saying, okay, if you can stick to those guidelines, morning and evening, good idea. And he says, do the lesson in that time, yeah, but flow with it. Be guided as to what works for you. Because if it doesn't work for you, then you're not going to do it. So it's about finding a routine that works for you. And ideally, you know,
Definitely.
it works for you on every level, and you actually quite enjoy it. You enjoy it. You enjoy doing it, and it's putting you in the right state of mind, and you don't find it a burden or a chore. It was like every day you've got to do 2 hours of meditation. You go, oh God, another 2 hours. Well, then it's probably not working for you. But if you do the 2 hours and it's like, wow, I just love that quiet 2 hours in the morning. For me, that's my golden time. Then that 2 hours is working for you. But if it's a chore and you're not, there's resistance to it, then it's not. Okay, so not more than a moment will do. So if you don't have a long time, just spend a few moments. You might just do a quick breath break and hold the lesson in mind, and that could take, as you said, not more than a moment will do to just connect. It's just connecting with that something else in you, the deeper presence in that time before bed. So you setting yourself into that pattern of thought before you go to sleep. Okay, number 6.
Yeah. There is one thought in particular that should be remembered throughout the day. It is a thought of pure joy, a thought of peace, a thought of limitless release, limitless because all things are freed within it. You think you made a place of safety for yourself. You think you made a power that can save you from all the fearful things you see in dreams. It is not so. Your safety lies not there. What you give up is merely the illusion of protecting illusions. And it is this you fear, and only this. How foolish to be so afraid of nothing at all. Your defenses will not work, but you are not in danger. You have no need of them. Recognize this, and they will disappear. And only then will you accept your real protection.
Okay, thoughts on that?
Can you scroll up?
Later.
Okay.
It's just, I don't think it was really anything to be translated, that one. The thought. One thought in particular should be remembered throughout the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what's confusing me. He's saying to be, the thought of pure joy or thought of peace should be remembered throughout the day. And then it says, you think you made your place of safety for yourself. You think you made a power that can save you from all fearful things you see in the dreams. It is not so. The safety does not lie in there. So I think you think you're protecting yourself from something, but that something doesn't actually exist. Is that what they say? He's saying. So really, you drop whatever you think exists because it doesn't exist, and that's where the safety is.
Yeah. Your defenses make the illusions real.
Yeah. So if I process the thinking about it, oh, okay, I feel like if I'm feeling this peace and joy, I'm safe from that fear or whatever you're fearing. So I'm safe from that. But that is not real. So you've got to just drop that. And that's where the safety is, rather than like, I need to find that thought of peace. But you actually do want to find that thought of peace. But
well, I think what he's saying here, I mean, the thought of peace, the thought of pure joy, is what frees you from your own protection. So he's saying this thought is the antidote to what you think will make you safe. You think you made a place of safety for yourself. So many people attach to form. They go, well, I've got a good house. I've got a nice house.
Oh, that kind of. safety.
I've made a place of safety. I've got a good job. I've got pension. I'm financially secure, and we try and make ourselves safe, don't we? Most people on the level of form. That's what they dedicate their lives to. And you think you made a power that can save you from all the fearful things you see in dreams. So we think that our ego is going to save us from all of these evils that we've imagined. Well, if I just follow the ego's logic, I'll be okay. If I make sure that I do everything right and I follow the rules and I save well and I put money away for a rainy day and I have a pension and so on and so on, then I'll be safe. And he's asking us to give up these illusions. It's merely the illusion of protecting illusions.
So if I look at lines 2 and 3, it is a thought of pure joy, thought of peace, etc. Because limitless, because all things are freed within it. When he says, then you think you made a place of safety for yourself, he's not talking about the thought of pure joy as making a place.
No, this is the ego's alternative.
Oh, okay.
The thought of pure joy, which says, no, you'll be okay because you've got a pension in place, or you'll be okay because you've got money, or you'll be okay because you've got a nice house, or whatever. A place of safety for yourself, and it's always going to be something on the level of form that you think is going to make you safe. And you think of how most people spend their days, they're trying to make themselves safe, aren't they? Safer. And he's asking us just to give that up and say, well, carry with you the thought of pure joy, of limitless release that's beyond all of these petty thoughts that keep you bound into fear. Because remember, defensiveness makes fear real. You start thinking about, well, I've got to save for a rainy day, and I've got to put stuff away for my pension, and your mind is consumed with those kinds of thoughts. You're making fear real, aren't you? Through your defense.
Yeah, we saw that construct, don't know, and I mean, outside of this, talking about the financial things, we're still doing that because while we're in the form.
Yeah, but just don't obsess about it. That's what.
Don't get attached to.
Don't attach to it. Like, okay, so you've got a pension thing going on or investments. Let that happen. It's fine. You're doing it, but don't give your time and attention to it.
Well, okay, sometimes you need to, but don't get too
obsessed about it. It would be, okay, so I'm dealing with my investments now. Let me look at it. I'm focused. I'm in the now. I do what I need to do. I have a conversation with my financial advisor. Okay, done. And then I lay it aside. I'm not thinking about going, oh, well, I'm safe because I've got pension. I've got a few million in the bank. But then the problem with that mindset is it's not very secure, because you start going, well, what happens if inflation ramps up and I don't have enough? You see, if that's the source of your security, you continuously going to be worried about losing it, because it's not permanent. Well, what happens if my investments all go south and I don't have enough money?
You need the backup and a hedge and the
exactly. And then your mind starts to become obsessed with security on the level of form. And he's saying, that's not going to make you safe. It's going to, in fact, make fear real in your mind. And it doesn't matter how much you try and manage your fear on the level of form, you never will. Because there's always going to be the fear that it's not going to last. No matter how safe your investments are and how much money you have, there's always the possibility that it's not going to work, and everything could go south and you could lose it, and then that fear haunts you. Whereas if you realize it's all illusion, and the thought of pure joy, this thought of peace and joy goes with you wherever you go, you can't lose that. That's always there. And it's not related to any worldly circumstances at all. So, yeah, well, he's not saying, okay, well, don't save any money or don't do any of that stuff necessarily. He's just saying don't think about it. Don't give it your time and energy.
And again, it's that whole future, past, future thing versus being in the now, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't have
Okay.
any of that stuff, you know, and I know I'll be fine. So there is a way of living without it. But if you're in it and you have it, then okay, work with it. Just don't let it consume you. You know, where you're putting your mind. As he says, your defenses will not work. His defenses make fear real, so they just perpetuate the fear. But you are not in danger. Okay, if pure formless awareness of perfect love is with you, you have the Holy Spirit guiding you in every situation, then there's nothing to fear. Recognize this and they will disappear. And only then will you accept your real protection. Okay, any thoughts on number 6?
No, we finished with number 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 7, I think there's about 10, so getting there slowly. Okay.
7. How simply and how easily does time slip by for the teacher of pure formless awareness of perfect love who has accepted his protection. All that he did before in the name of safety no longer interests him, for he is safe and knows it to be so. He has a guide who will not fail. He need make no distinctions among problems he perceives, for he to whom he turns with all of them recognizes no order of difficulty in resolving them.
Okay, so this is just the he is it for it.
All right.
It's the Holy Spirit he's talking about.
Can I move on?
Yeah.
Okay, point number 6. I assume that means it is as safe in the present.
No, he is. It's talking about the person now.
Okay.
We just switched to the masculine, so someone's feminine and masculine. He is as safe in the present as he was before illusions.
He is as safe in the present as he was before illusions were accepted into his mind, and as he will be when he has let them go. There is no difference in his state at different times in different places, because they are all one to pure formless awareness of perfect love. This is his safety, and he has no need for more than this. That's what we spoke about before, is that actual safety is being one with
being in the present moment, isn't it?
The safety that we thought, you know, all that he did before in the name of safety no longer interests him. So that's coming back to whatever's in form. Maybe how, or I don't know if, I mean, when I say, maybe when you say no longer interests him, it's not that, okay, I need that house and kind of spending more time thinking or worry about these things, what you don't have in terms of I'm not safe enough, and then kind of putting things in place to be more safe in form. But now,
yeah, just trusting, trusting in the present moment. Like Forrest Gump, classic example. I mean, just has no idea about managing money or anything, but it all works out because he's in the moment and he's doing the right thing in the moment, and everything flows without any emphasis on it. So he ends up having enough money and a house, and there's no emphasis on it. He's actually more interested in love than anything else. So that just, it's just a good demonstration again in that story of someone who's transcended that. And a lot of people are consumed by this stuff. They're consumed about, well, how do I plan for my, for my retirement? How do I make sure I maximize my investments, and how do I, make myself as safe as possible on the level of form? And you never will, because form is illusory, and it doesn't matter how much you try and make yourself safe on the level of form. Eventually, it's all going to crumble, and you're going to die, and none of it will protect you from that. So it's illusory. Whereas here, he's pointing us to a state where we're just in the present moment. We're connected to our source. We've been guided, and that's our safety. In the moment, I'm connected. I have the peace of God right now, and I have the guidance as to what I should do, what I should say and do in the world. There is no difference in his state at different times and different places, because they're all one to pure formless awareness of perfect love. So it's the same state, irrespective of what the situation is. The advanced teacher realizes that he can be in this state no matter what seems to be happening in the world. And this is his only safety. He can always go into pure formless awareness of perfect love. There's no need for more than this. Okay. Any thoughts on that?
No further thoughts on that.
Okay. So number 8.
How many things? There's 10 in total.
Yeah, I think so. 9, 10, 11. Sorry, 11.
Okay.
So another 3 after this. So you want to read that? Yet there will be temptations.
Yet there will be temptations along the way. The teacher of pure formless awareness of perfect love has yet to travel, and he has need of reminding himself throughout the day of his protection. How can he do this, particularly during the time when his mind is occupied with external things? He can but try, and his success depends on his conviction that he will succeed. He must be sure success is not of him, but will be given him at any time, in any place and circumstance he calls for it. There are times in his certainty will waver, and the instant this occurs, he will return to earlier attempts to place reliance on himself alone. Forget not, this is magic, and magic is a sorry substitute for true assistance. It is not good enough for pure formless awareness of perfect love's teacher, because it is not enough for pure formless awareness of perfect love's son.
Yeah, I'll just take out the pure formless awareness. Okay. Perfect love's extension. Okay, so what's he saying here in summary?
Okay, there's temptations along the way. As the teacher, and he has need of reminding himself throughout the day of his protection. How can he do this, particularly during the time when his mind is occupied? Well, I'm assuming when he says he has the need of reminding himself throughout the day of his protection, the protection is having that thought of joy or peace, and that not the external protection, right? Or this external security. He must be sure of success is not him, but will be given him at any time. So I think what that means is that you're not holding on to that success, but just it's more of a trust and letting go or surrendering that, that protection will come at any time when you need it. It's like, so it's a trust and trust in the flow, I think is what it's saying there. For number 4, he must be sure success is not him, but will be given him at any time and any place and circumstance he calls for it.
The temptation is the teacher of God to rely on magic, turn to early attempts to place reliance on himself alone. So you're not asking Spirit for guidance. You're not tapping in the now. You say, no, I need to sort this out. And do not forget that this is magic.
Mm. So those are the earlier attempts to replace reliance on himself alone.
Yeah. So we all make the mistake of trying to do this on our own. Saying, I'll sort it out without asking the Holy Spirit. And it's dysfunctional, it doesn't work too well. So the teacher of God must learn that, he doesn't ask. Doesn't rely on his own judgment. There's a letting go. Whenever there's a decision to make, there's okay, let me just pause, let me let go, whatever is going on in my mind, and let me open myself to guidance.
Mm.
And that's just a habit of mind. You need to get used to thinking in that way. Rather than rushing in there, charging in, with the ego leading, and it's just reactive. There's no sort of thought of, okay, I need to just pause and reflect, and I don't necessarily need to know the answer straight away. I can give it some time.
Mm.
Magic is a sorry substitute for true assistance. So any attempt to try and solve your problems through magic is a sorry substitute for the guidance that the Holy Spirit can provide. As you said at the beginning, to learn to listen to that voice is the key. How do you know the difference between the Holy Spirit's voice and the ego's voice? And that's the discernment we're training ourselves to have through this mind training.
Yeah, that is the challenge.
Well, is it? I mean, the ego has such a trail that it leaves. There's always fear with the ego. There's always desperation. Doesn't feel peaceful. It's usually reactive. It's usually in a hurry. So whenever you're like, I don't have time, and there's that. Well, that's the ego because it's time bound. The Spirit's not. So it has a very different quality of feeling. Feels different, and you start to learn to identify them and say, okay, well then, does this feel peaceful? That's always a good question. Does this feel peaceful? And be honest with yourself. If you're in the ego, you'll go, no, it doesn't feel peaceful. It feels inturbulated. It feels like I'm acting from a state of non-peace, desperate action, because I'm feeling fearful, and so I'll do something reactive and stupid.
Yeah.
Whereas the Spirit is quiet. It's quiet, it's calm, it's no rush. So you're like, okay, yeah, do that, say that. And if you're not clear, just get clear. So, well, all I need to do is get clear, get my mind quiet. Do a meditation where you let go of the ego distortions and then listen. The best thing you can do if you're not clear is to spend the time to become clear. Do a meditation or any kind of spiritual practice to clear your mind, so that you can then hear guidance. You can listen.
Yeah.
So guidance, guidance, and this path has a lot of emphasis on that, saying that there is a guide. It can actually give you quite specific instructions in specific situations and problems. It can tell you what to do because it's able to interpret these situations from the perspective of oneness.
Okay.
All right. So let's push on to number 9. Nearly there. I can tell you fading. So, well, it's going on for 11 o'clock there, isn't it? So,
yeah.
3 paragraphs. Let's see if we can finish 3 paragraphs. But it's quite a long one. I haven't done a long one like this for ages. So, well done.
A long.
Okay. So the avoidance of magic.
The teacher's long paragraph or long teacher's manual thing?
Yeah, a long text or
okay.
for teachers like this, because they're generally shorter, and people haven't been showing up in the evenings, so I haven't done this for a long time. I've done a 9, 10, 11 paragraph one. Work through it. So it does take, well, what are we, hour and 40 minutes so far. So it'll take us 2 hours.
I remember the ones where they were like 20, 25 steps.
Yeah, I mean, some of those were just. I once did with Sue and John. We did a 26 paragraph lesson.
Oh.
It was lesson 135. And we'd done. I think we did text as well, so it was about a 5-hour session.
Yeah.
But there's something satisfying, it's like a workshop. You go through it, and you spend that time, and it's like you're cleaning your mind in the process. So you do come out feeling sort of cleaned, to paraphrase Lance Armstrong in a different context. And it does teach you, there's a discipline to this, isn't there? There's a discipline, there's a practice. And I've had people coming on and say, I never would have thought I could do 2 hours, but actually I can. Okay, so 16.9, avoidance of magic.
The avoidance of magic is the avoidance of temptation. For all temptation is nothing more than the attempt to substitute another will for pure formless awareness of perfect loves. These attempts may indeed seem frightening, but they are merely pathetic.
Yeah.
They can have no effects, neither good nor bad, neither rewarding or demanding sacrifice, healing or destructive, quieting nor fearful. When all magic is recognized as merely nothing, the teacher of pure formless awareness of perfect love has reached the most advanced state. All intermediate lessons will but lead to this and bring this goal nearer to recognition. For magic of any kind in all its forms simply does nothing. Its powerlessness is the reason it can be so easily escaped. What has no effects can hardly terrify.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this magic is an attempt to substitute another will for perfect loves. These attempts may indeed seem frightening, but they are merely pathetic. I don't know why that says frightening. Maybe, because if magic could be good, if it's like a.
No, but magic's always associated with fear, isn't it? Because the fear is that it won't work.
Like, hey, I want to get a good, like, for example, would you say ayahuasca's magic? I don't know.
Well, it depends on how you view it. It depends on the mindset of the person.
Yeah, I mean, and what they see that is, but I'm just
talking.
I'm
You
just
know,
wondering why I say the attempts may
let's talk about
seem
a more less extreme example, which doesn't is a bit clearer. So you talk about magic and the sense of, okay, my magic being the money I earn, the job I have. This is going to keep me safe. I'm saving putting money away. I have good investments, and I've got my life kind of sorted. And this is my source of security, my my financial state, my financial situation, my ability to manage my money. That's just as an example. And he's saying, recognize this as merely nothing, because you're valuing an illusion that's not true. By valuing it, you're saying money and the material world, because money just represents the material world. What you can buy with money is material stuff. He's saying it's merely pathetic, which is just another way of trying to pop the bubble. He's saying it's pathetic that you're so attached to these forms of magic that don't actually work. That are nothing. You're giving all this importance and meaning to what is really nothing. Which is a pathetic attempt by the ego to make nothing into something, and keep your mind occupied with nothing. This is the reason it can be so easily escaped. What is no effects can hardly terrify.
Yeah, when all magic is recognized as merely nothing, the teacher of perfect love has reached its most advanced state.
So there's nothing to desire and there's nothing to fear. Talking about a state beyond fear and desire. Which is, where we've got to go. The Buddha had the same insight. He said, when you've let go of all craving, desire, then you will be free. So you're letting go of the idea that something outside of you, magic, will work.
Yeah.
And so you learn to avoid the temptation to believe in the magic of the world, and dismiss it, and just go into the happy thought, into your own pure formless awareness of perfect love, and go, there's my safety right there. I need nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with number 9.
Happy with number 9.
Okay.
Okay.
2 more. Keep going, Kim.
Yeah.
Nearly there. Yeah, you've actually done really well, because normally there's other people to help you. You've done this all on your own. So.
Yeah.
Credit yourself. Okay, so there's no substitute.
There is no substitute for the will of pure formless awareness of perfect love. In simple statement, it is to this fact that the teacher of pure formless awareness of perfect love devotes his day. Each substitute he may accept as real each substitute he may accept as real can but deceive him. But he is safe from all deception if he so decides. Perhaps he needs to remember, pure formless awareness of perfect love is with me. I cannot be deceived. Perhaps he prefers other words, or only one or none at all. Yet each temptation to accept magic as true must be abandoned through his recognition. Not that it is fearful, not that it is sinful, not that it is dangerous, but merely that it is meaningless. Rooted in sacrifice and separation, 2 aspects of one error and no more. He merely chooses to give up all that he never had. And for the sacrifice is heaven restored to his awareness.
Okay. Heaven is, remember what heaven is in our translated language?
Love, it's not love's extension, that's Holy Spirit, heaven.
The state of pure formless
Atonement.
awareness.
Okay. The state of pure formless awareness. Said.
State of pure formless awareness restored to his awareness. So this awareness becomes our awareness. Pure formless awareness of perfect love on its own, without your awareness, continues. It's there, but you don't know it. So for you, it's not there.
Okay.
But when your mind joins with it and you have that awareness yourself, then it becomes real to you because it's in your own experience. So he's saying when you give up all belief in the world, in the magic of the world, that this is going to save you, then and only then will you have heaven, which is the state of pure formless awareness. Restored to your awareness, and you realize that none of the magic was all just a substitute for the truth of this awareness.
Yeah, it's meaningless. So you don't give it. You don't make it real. So it could, what he's described. It's not fearful, sinful, or dangerous. It's just meaningless.
Yeah, because if it's fearful or it's sinful or it's dangerous, you've given it a reality it doesn't have.
Yeah.
But meaningless is the way out. Okay, it's just meaningless. It has no meaning. It has no reality. It has no purpose. I don't give it any thought. I don't give it any of my psychic energy. And so then the goal just disappears, just dissipates. But if you resist it, then you go, oh, no, that's sinful and it's evil, and which is what a lot of religions do. They go, oh no, that's evil. There's the devil's work there. You resist it and you make it real. Now there appears to be a threat. So that's why his whole teaching around radical forgiveness is don't give it meaning. Nothing I see means anything. Just mastering that, just learning that, you'd learn the whole course, wouldn't you? Nothing I see means anything. If we could really apply that, then you'd be free. There'd be no negative thought and emotion possible, because nothing you see means anything. So why are you giving it a meaning?
Indeed.
But we had to learn that. So he says, I'll give you the lesson, and it's going to take you many years to learn this lesson properly. Nothing I see means anything, because we have a tendency to ascribe meaning to things. It's like a default mechanism the ego's invented to give it the meaning. And what he's asking us to do is become conscious of that. Say, okay, you're conscious that you've given it meaning, and then deny it. When you're aware that you're giving magic meaning, and then deny it and say, no, I'm not going to give this any meaning.
Okay.
And then that denial is the correction.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with number 9?
Yep. 10. Is that number 10?
10. So last one, number 11.
It is not this an exchange that you would want. The world will gladly make it if it knew it could be made. It is pure formless awareness of perfect love's teachers. You must teach it that it can. And so it is their function to make sure that they have learned it. No risk is possible throughout the day except to put your trust in magic, for it is only this that leads to pain. There is no will but pure formless awareness of perfect loves. His teachers know that this is so, and I've learned that everything but this is magic. All belief in magic is maintained by just one simple-minded illusion that it works. All through their training, every day and every hour and even every minute and second, must pure formless awareness of perfect love's teachers learn to recognize the form of magic and perceive it they're meaningless, fear is withdrawn from them, and so they go. And thus the gate of heaven is reopened, and its light can shine again on an untroubled mind. So let's just summarize the whole rest of the content.
Yeah, it's good ending. So maybe you want to just summarize that paragraph in summary of the whole thing.
Okay, to make sure that you've learned to as a teacher is to not put your trust in magic, because that will lead to pain. So magic is meaningless. If you believe it works, then you believe in the illusion. So giving it any meaning is giving the illusion meaning. Otherwise, you have to recognize that any form of magic, any kind of form of things that you might trust in, that this is going to be the safety and security, that's actually meaningless. And recognize that a state of pure formless awareness, or being in pure formless awareness, and you open at that state of mind, which is like heaven, and you're not troubled.
Very well explained. Simple lesson, let go of your belief in all magic, but to do that without exception is the learning, because we're surrounded by magic, and the world is based on the belief in magic. You think of all the products and services that people sell. It's all magic. It's like, you've got a problem, I've got the solution, I'll sell it to you. It's the basis of our whole economy, and yet he's saying all of that is illusion, and you must trust in God alone. And then the scientific materialist cynic will go, oh well, that's all really well, but if you need your car fixed or your drain unblocked, magic, you need a plumber, or you need someone to do the job on the level of form. but then we're not talking here about the level of form. We're talking about something beyond it. So those means, to fix a car, yes, okay, you need to get your car serviced, but that can all be done with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So you're not making the car into some kind of security or some kind of source of pain and problems. You just, okay, car needs to be fixed, car needs to be MOT'd, whatever, I'll take it in, and I'll do it without any emphasis on it. So to be in the world but not of the world. It's when you think about these things and we give them importance in our mind and we esteem them, and we think that this is going to give us our safety and our security. That's magic. We're all going to be dealing with magic for as long as we're in human form. Because we have all kinds of stuff that apparently we need. We eat food every day, that's magic. We breathe air, that's magic. We drive cars, we go to supermarkets, we shop, we cook, we do all kinds of stuff. But what he's saying to you is, don't make it real. Don't make it a substitute for heaven in your mind, because that blocks your true awareness, blocks a state of pure formless awareness from arising. And then you're just stuck in the material world and in the material mind that the ego is sponsoring, and there's no way out. And what I've observed is, as people get older, that belief in magic will fail them, and they know it, and they get more and more unhappy, because it's not going to save them from death. And if they've denied that there's something beyond death, the eternal, then all they have to rely on is the material world, and that's crumbling, that's fading. So where then is their security? And they might, become more obsessed with the security on the level of form to counteract their fear, but it's misguided, because they're never going to find the security they're looking for. Only security lies in love and surrendering to that. So on that note, I think that's a good time to end it. Any other thoughts or comments or questions?
No, Nothing more, I think.
Hmm.
I think we summed it up well there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you're going to summarize this teaching in 30 seconds, what would you say? What is he taught us?
We've kind of been, what we've known is the safety of magic. We think that this magic is going to give us safety, but it's actually meaningless. The safety is really about dropping that and connecting with pure formless awareness. And that's, you don't have to have that fear.
In the initial part, he was talking about some structure and some guidance on, how you structure your day, which is quite helpful.
Yeah.
So start off with some quiet time in the morning and some quiet time in the evening. That was basically his guidance, and try and make those part of the structure of your day without becoming attached to them, and that will create a structure within which you can flow, and you can undo all the belief in magic which you still have, which is part of the journey of becoming more advanced in your practice and teaching. So yeah, very practical on one level, and then he went in, as he does, he went into talking about magic and letting go of magic.
Yeah.
Which is quite, I wouldn't say it's abstract, but it's more theoretical.
Yeah.
Than the practicality of when you're going to meditate. Take your quiet time, as he calls it. So hopefully that was useful. I found it useful. All good.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to do it.
Thank you, Jono.
Okay, so see you again Sunday maybe. I'll be running a session probably Sunday afternoon, so see if you could join us.
Okay. I'll look out for that. Thanks, Jono.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Namaste. Good night. Thank you very much. This was good. Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
Okay. Bye. Good night. Bye.